Whoop! I did a doo-doo. Why are you not booting? Boom! Hello everyone and welcome to another build video. What's supposed to be the first liquid-cooled AM5 build on the planet. But before we start, I need a new mousepad. Okay. This is liquid cooling regarding the hardware. For the motherboard, we will be using this Aorus X670E Master. Huge thanks to Aorus for sending this motherboard sample early to us so that we can fiddle around with it. We'll be using a AMD Ryzen 7950X CPU. This is the flagship product. We'll be using some G.Skill RAM. Huge thanks again to G.Skill to supplying us with RAM all of the time for these awesome builds. And we'll be using the EVGA for the Win 3 3080. Since this video will be focused mostly around the CPU, so just a quick recap what we will do. We will do a build, liquid cool it. We will use the new distro page for the Fractal Design Torrent, which is unreleased but coming soon to the market. We will show new fans. We will show the EK FPT fans. That's something new that you haven't seen yet. I think that's the quick recap, and at the end we will do a full overclocking tutorial. Not full, but we will do a overclocking tutorial for the new AM5 CPUs, and we will do a quick benchmark test as well. So let's get cracking. I'll get the case. Come on. There we have it, the case, a white Fractal Torrent. Thankfully this case is already been gutted.
Are you sure about that?
It has no fans inside. It has been used for the shop the loop. Check it out on our page. I was told this case was gutted. It still has all the fans. Ooh. Nice and heavy. This is my first time working with this case, so it's gonna be an experience for me to check how user-friendly it is. I really like the looks of it. I rooted for this case to get a distro plate, and now it will officially have it. Interesting facts about the distro plate. The distro plate is a side-mounted distro. It will go here. Included with the distro, you will get a bracket which can help you mount the radiator in the front, and you will also be able to mount a radiator in the bottom if you use the GPU in a horizontal position. If you use it in vertical, there's no place. The bottom radiator can be an P or an X. You cannot use a slim radiator at the bottom because you have to use the end ports on the bottom radiator to connect the loop. I imagine that this build will be quite quick because it's a Matrix 7 Reflection 2 second generation reflection distro, which means it's Matrix 7, so everything will align nice and neatly. No tube bending. You will never see my bending skills. That's two fans out. These are massive. This goes back for now so that I don't lose it. Like that. Before we continue, I'm gonna make a little bit of order on my desk so that I prepare some room. So FPT fans, we'll talk about them later, so that you know what's the difference between phase, FPT, impulse, and everything that you've seen so far. Lots of cables. At the end, I'm gonna do satin titanium fittings with the white build, white radiators. I also have some very expensive thermal paste here, so that we know that the bottleneck of this liquid-cooled PC is not going to be the thermal paste. I was told that this costs 80 euros. Hopefully it's good. Did we say that men don't use user manuals? Okay then, let's do the CPU. This is a very nice looking board. Smells brand new, something I like. Has a massive heatsink for the M.2, which I also like. And let's do the point of the show. This is the AM5 socket, which has an integrated backplate, so you can't remove it. You can, but you shouldn't. You have the pins inside the socket. It's a AMD Ryzen 7950X, supposed to be the best CPU that you can buy on the market. It's in, hatch closed, and the lid has popped off. Isn't that a pretty sight? Let's do the thermal greasy. You have two little shovels. Ooh. Whoop! Okay. God damn it. A message to the manufacturer of this. Please put your product in the box upright so that this doesn't happen when you open it. Now we're gonna clean the board. Luckily it's pink, so you see where it is. It's a good thing I got a new mouse pad. This one got hit the worst. I will deem this motherboard clean enough. Blob on the middle. CPU block time. But before we mount this AM5 Velocity 2 CPU block, it's time to subscribe. Our YouTube guys tell me that 80% of you are not subscribed, so do it. This is the new AM5 specific block. The beauty of the whole thing is that you don't have a backplate. This is the whole thing. The entire mounting is inside the block. So you just carefully put it on where you see the screws, like that. Now you will get an included Torx 7 screwdriver inside the block. Please use that one because this one fits the best. This is just a sample. It will not look like this. You reach in from the back side of the board and twist counterclockwise so that the thread goes inside the backplate, and also thread crosswise so that you have even pressure on the CPU. Make sure that the Allen key is fully slotted inside the Allen key, the Torx screw, so that you don't strip the screw. The thread is a bit long, so when you see that the screw is flush with the socket backplate, you are close to being done. This one's done, this is done, and done. Peel porn. Do some DDR5. I was told that I should only start with one RAM because the new AM5 boards do the RAM counting and it takes time, but for visual appearance I've installed everything. I'm gonna do the SSD right now because we will need a fully operating Windows system on this. Some tweezers would be nice. Tweezers never dies. Ooh, this locking mechanism is cute. And the massive M.2 heatsink. There, the motherboard is fully ready. I will set this aside and start doing the case and the distro. Distro time. First sample of this Fractal Torrent distro ever. Notice the DDC. You have to use a DDC because otherwise if you have a D5 you are not able to mount the front radiator. This is the other part that we're gonna do, and while we are here I will do the heatsink for the DDC because that you can do. What the actual... You don't need this. This is what you have when you're dealing with first samples. So the D5 uses the bigger O-ring and the O-ring on the DDC is there. I will give R&D a pass on this one. Clickety click. O-ring seems to be fine, so I will not leak test it right now. But let's talk about the distro. So this thingy goes... Okay, oops. Okay, so we have the white radiator. It's supposed to go on like this. There's only one way to put it on, so you won't make any mistakes. The holes will align with multiple slots on the bracket. You have to put on the radiator before you put the whole thing inside the case. Grabby, grabby, yep, it grabbed. The parts have to be on the bottom, and you will see soon why. There, so looks something like this. These ports here are for the radiators. If you have one radiator, you would just connect this to this and this to this. If you have two radiators, one at the bottom, for this distro to work, it's mandatory to have a multi-port EK-Matrix7 compatible radiator. You can also have any other radiator as long as it's Matrix 7. For now it's only EK made, but hopefully others will join. Also coming soon, TM, are additional radiator extenders so that you can add drain valves and temperature probes and stuff like that to your radiator. So when you buy a radiator, it has only 2 extenders because it has only 2 functional ports, so you can move those around. But like I said, soon you will get extenders in the shop so that you can add one here, for example, and you can add a temperature probe or a drain valve or anything there. Anyway, the bottom radiator will come somewhere around here. So you would be connecting this to this port to this one, and these 2 radiators will be just joined directly, and then you have the whole loop. So I've put on the radiator, so now I will, how should I put on the fans? Push, pull. I'm gonna put it in pull so that we pull fresh air from outside. FPT fans, time for the FPT fans. The FPT means is full pressure technology. It's because it has a full frame design so that you don't have air escaping on the sides of the fan. This is going to be the successor of the Vardar, so it's an entry point radiator specific fan. This is not the phase fan. This is the phase fan, which is not coming yet. This is why we are preparing these fans, so that they are an entry point radiator fans, which are an upgrade to the Vardar. The phase will have these fancy badges on the front and the back. These one have standard stickers, but they still use the EK OmniLink cables, which are these very short cables which would interconnect between the 2 fans or the series. And the exciting thing here is that you have a separate signal wire inside for the fans, but you can also put a pump in between these 2 fans, and you would have a separate PWM signal wire for the pump itself, so that with like 1 cable around the whole build, you are able to control the fans and the pump separately. Or if you want to control 2 fan zones separately or something like that. So that's the nice thing about these. Each fan will come with one of these cables. This cable has a RGB signal cable, has a RGB cable on it, and the PWM cable, so that you can plug it up to the source. If you have 3 fans, the last fan gets the cable. That's the whole idea behind it. I will put these on, like we said, it will be a pull. So like this. As you can see, it's a tight package. There will be no chance to fit a D5 in here. A DDC pump is just as good as a D5, as long as you have proper cooling for it. Moment of truth. Does this fit? Notice the sideways bars. You will see later why do we have this. Oh, let me undo the cable first. That wasn't so hard. You will see perfectly matching screw holes where the 180mm fans were. Neato. These mounting brackets are sideways because you have the same support brackets on the plastic on the front grill of the case. So if I would have put in the fans and then the radiator, and if these bars were like just straight, then this will look quite ugly because you would see the bars, and that's why we have made these sideways, so that if you put fans here and if you have a glow in the front of the case, these lines match with the case. And terrible job with the cables, but I'll figure it out right now. No manual needed for the distro. It's sturdy, it doesn't flop around. The board. This board is a bit biggy, as you can see. It's extended ATX. The board is in. Boom! Captain's log, stardate 100299.03. I did a doo-doo. Apparently having a manual would be better for this distro. The doo-doo that I did is that if you want to mount the bottom radiator, you should attach it. Oh, wait. Visual. If you want to do the bottom radiator, you should attach it to this thing sooner, because you will have to slide it, and some of the screws are blocked by the case. So I'm going to now wing it like this, just put it to the side, because of the front radiator this mount can't be removed. So it's a minor setback, nothing major, but just to let you know that if you are planning to buy this distro, that you should take this into account. This is done. The radiator is slidey. Since we want a functional build, let's check out the cables. USB cable, let's do them all. Front audio. This is probably the ugliest cables you can find on a PC. Look at that. Just make it all black. Make it black. Everyone, make it black. Right, look at that. Like vegan spaghetti. Apply the fans. Have you seen the trick? The EK logo is not the same on both ends, so if I would put it in like this, the EK logo is upside down, but I can do this trick is to unhook all of these cables from here. Come on, work with me. Like that, okay. Put it on the other side of this groove, like that, and then the fan's gonna be turned like this. Nope. Like this, yep, like this, and now we have the EK logo the right way up, and the cables are still going in the back, like that. So currently we have only these standard fan cables, but we will also have these OmniLink extenders. I will also do pull here as well, so that the radiators are also getting fresh air from the bottom. We're gonna load the case with heat, but it has nice ventilation at the back side, so power supply and then the GPU. 1000 watts should be enough for this PC. Where are the screws? Where are the screw holes? Just put it in backwards. I need a break. Do some cable mod cables. So we will do a boot test just in case everything's fine with the hardware. It happens that you have funky, I don't know, the motherboard is touching the case somewhere and it's shorting, or some funky stuff is happening. So doing the boot test while it's dry is the best thing to do, and that's what we will do soon TM, once I have all of these power cables in. Sliding in a GPU. The GPU is already water blocked. We have seen quite a few times how to mount a Vector 2 GPU water block, so we're not gonna waste any time on that. You filming? Are you filming? Are you filming? So much for peel porn, but this is... I should have left it on and do it after. Should I put it back? Well, we handled the block and the GPU and everything. Good enough. Okay, slip it in. This color nicely matches this motherboard. I love it. It does the saggy right. Obviously these cables have been used in a different build, and the cables have their mind of their own. We'll do a boot test, and the lumen screen is nice to have around for things like this. Fingers crossed. It doesn't work because it needs power. Power. The motherboard indicates power. The screen has power. It indicated that it's like this, and something's red over there. I will give it some more time. The drama, the suspense. DRAM. Why are you not booting? This should speed up the booting process because there's less RAM to check. HDMI, no signal. 4A, 2B. 00, 70, 40, 97, P4, 9C, 42. The answer, oh, new CPU installed. I would be nervous if I would have been doing this with a fully built loop and booted. There you have it, or is Windows booting. But this is already Windows, and I'm gonna soon shut down so that we don't overheat. We've gotten into Windows, GPU works, CPU works. There you have it. Let's build a loop. 5 days later and a haircut later, we borrowed the motherboard to R&D so that they can check the VRM, because we will do a monoblock for this board. It's time for me to continue with the drain valve installment when I get this cap off. I really hope that this is the drain port. I don't have a manual, but like we said, men don't need manuals. What else? The fan on the back. I have one more extra fan with the cables. Let's do the tubes, right? Everything looks nice and clean. We can run through the distro once again. So CPU to here, I think I will use only 3mm offsets because it's quite aligned. These two are for the GPU prebend tubes, and this port connects directly to there, and these two to the bottom two ports, and we should be golden. Let's do some tubes and fittings. To the chopping wheel. Final tube. Guess this is good. Whole loop is done. Now to find out, have we made some terrible mistakes or not? By leak testing. And now we wait. We'll wait a bit more, but seems to be holding pretty well. Do the cables, the RGB. Fortunately now we have the OmniLink cables on the fan, so there are only 3 fan cables for the entire thing. I think that this leak test has been concluded successfully. The celebratory hiss. There you have it. We said that we will not bother with cable management much. I will do cable management if I will have issues closing the side. Let's do an RGB test. Flip it like this so we all see everything. Give it some power, and so we have to look at this thing here. CPU, GPU, distro and the fans. It's on. What's strange? Ah, I didn't connect this. So, count the LEDs quickly. I turned on the pump. Don't turn on the pump without coolant. Don't tell anyone. I messed up. RGB? RGB? RGBG? RGB? I've boot tested it with 1 RAM and it was all fine. Oh, now you have it. GPU is not lit. Works. Distro works. See what's wrong with the GPU block. Is connected, and that's a bad sign. Figured out the RGB. Look at that. No cable management done. 3, 2, 1. There. So one AM5 build ready. It's booting, not crashing. I will clean up the desk and then we will fill it. Okay, let's roll. Oh, Windows is back, Windows is alive, and we have a successful fill. I don't know if this is a feature of the board, but I like that the RGB is set on white, not RGB puke, and it stays on, that you know that everything's working. So now that we have the system running, we can get ready for the overclocking and the synthetic benching. We will have a special guest star helping us with overclocking of this beast, so that you have basic overclocking guides about how to overclock a 7000 series Ryzen CPU. See you soon!
So you're probably wondering, what's this person doing here? Where's Attila? Attila got scared. Jokes aside, he just didn't want to remove his 4 DDR5 sticks and replace them with these two. But you know what? These two are ultra fast, because that's what you're here for those high numbers on our screen. Let's dive into it. Before we tinker with any settings whatsoever, let's run the SkatterBencher 23 to get the baseline score. Now that we've got the baseline, it's time to overclock. Okay, now that we've tweaked a couple of settings, we're gonna run a SkatterBencher 23 and we should see a higher number. Damn, what should I do now? Attila's gonna be so disappointed. Oh wait, I know a guy who can help. Let's call Pieter from SkatterBencher.
Hey guys, this is Pieter from SkatterBencher. Since I make a lot of overclocking guides, I can surely help you guys overclock this Ryzen 7950X CPU.
So hey Pieter, we're gonna need some help overclocking the AM5 platform. Can you help us?
Absolutely. So overclocking with AMD is kind of simple, but also a little bit complex. AMD actually offers two main ways of overclocking the CPUs. The first one is Precision Boost Overdrive, and the second one is OC mode. And I would recommend for starters that we would just begin with Precision Boost Overdrive. Precision Boost Overdrive allows us to tweak some of the platform and CPU settings that will manipulate the precision boost frequency algorithm into boosting to higher frequencies for longer. So to get started with this, we have to go to the advanced CPU settings, and there we'll see a menu called Precision Boost Overdrive. And here's the first setting that we need to do, and we'll switch here to advanced because it gives us more options to fine-tune. And the first option we have to fine-tune here is called PBO limits. Essentially, there are a couple of platform limits that kick in when your CPU would be too hot, or would be using too much power, or would be drawing too much current. So what we can do here is unleash those limits. And what we want to do here is indeed select motherboard, because we'll be relying on the parameters that Gigabyte has already pre-selected for this particular motherboard. And then the second option that we can pick is CPU boost clock override. So the Ryzen 7950X is advertised up to 5.7 gigahertz, but actually the programmed maximum frequency is 5,850 megahertz. Now we can still increase that over the standard programmed limit by 25 megahertz in steps of 25 megahertz, but up to 200 megahertz. And for this overclock, let's just stick with plus 100. And then the last very important setting is called Curve Optimizer. What Curve Optimizer allows you to do is undervolt your CPU. So what you can do is you can say to the CPU, hey, for a certain frequency, try to use less voltage. And what that allows the precision boost algorithm to do is actually try and boost to higher frequencies, right? You use less voltage for a given frequency, so for a given voltage, you can have a little bit more frequency. Now, the Curve Optimizer settings are really CPU specific, so you kind of have to tune everything for your specific CPU, but you know, maybe you guys have a really good one. So let's go aggressive from the start. Let's try with all cores and -25. Let's go back to the main BIOS. We want to do some additional performance tuning, and let's make use of AMD Expo. Expo is an AMD exclusive technology that allows memory vendors to program higher performance settings onto their memory sticks. So with a click of a single button, we can essentially unleash the performance from our memory. Now, the sticks that you're using here, they are DDR5 6400. It's a little bit tough currently with the Ryzen 7000 CPUs to get there. We still need to have some BIOS development going on. So I would recommend here that we start at 6 GHz. So set maybe the system memory multiplier at 60. And then the last setting we can also change is called XMP Expo High Bandwidth Support. I don't know exactly what this setting does, but it appears that Gigabyte has found some ways to even further optimize the memory performance. So if we enable that, we'll get some more performance in memory sensitive benchmarks. And that's basically it. We can try and see if we get more performance now.
Let's wait for it to boot up, and then we can run the Cinebench and hopefully score
Fingers
a higher...
crossed.
Yeah, score a higher score. So earlier we scored 38,300 and something. Do you think we're gonna beat that score?
I hope so.
Let's find out. Wow, this close to 40,000. Now, Pieter, what can we do to reach that magical number?
You are thinking like a true overclocker. You know, it's never enough. So, like I mentioned in the very beginning, there's a second way of overclocking AMD CPUs called OC mode. And in OC mode, we can take direct control over some of the frequencies and the voltages that are inside our CPU. The only thing we have to do is reboot and go back into the BIOS.
Okay, so Pieter, where do we start?
So the first thing we have to do is disable Precision Boost Overdrive. So we go into the Advanced CPU Settings menu and back into our Precision Boost Overdrive menu. And here we can just set Precision Boost Overdrive to disabled. And then we go back into our main tweaker menu. And the way that we can enable OC mode is essentially we just dial in the CPU ratios by themselves. Now we can change the CPU ratio mode from all cores to per CCX. And what that means is that we can set an independent ratio for each of the 2 chips on our Ryzen 7950X CPU. So for our first CCD, we'll have a little bit of a higher frequency. Generally with these chips, CCD 0 is slightly better than CCD 1. So let's try for this one, for example, 54.75. And then for the second ratio, we can use maybe 54.25, so 50 megahertz lower. And then very importantly, we also have to set a manual voltage. So under CPU vCore, we can manually type in 1.25, 1.26, about that. All right, and then we can just save the settings, go back in the operating system and hope the performance has further improved.
Now let's run another benchmark using the OC method that Pieter told us. Whoa, 41,000.
Ooh, very nice, very, very nice.
Now that's a score we were hoping for. That's a roughly 6.9% increase over the standard settings. I'm just lost for words. Thank you, Pieter, for providing us all the info for overclocking. Any last words?
Well, if you want to learn more about Ryzen 7000 overclocking, you can always go and check out the guides that I have up on my YouTube channel, SkatterBencher, and on my blog, SkatterBencher.com. And maybe, do you want to try 6 gigahertz?
Oh yeah, sure. Can we do that? I mean, yeah, I'm all up for it.
We can try.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go.
All right, let's go back into the BIOS. All right, so I think the best way to go about this is again switching to Precision Boost Overdrive. So what we want to do is set our CCX ratios to auto. Yep, and then also set the vCore to auto again. Yep, and then we go back into the advanced CPU settings and the Precision Boost Overdrive menu. And here we'll basically do exactly the same. So we set the precision boost overdrive to advanced. We have the PBO limits at motherboard, but rather than having a clock override of 100, we'll use 175. And again, I want to remind the viewers that even though AMD has an advertised boost frequency up to 5.7 gigahertz, the programmed maximum frequency is 5,850 megahertz. So by adding 175 megahertz to that, our Fmax, or maximum frequency ceiling, will be 6,025 megahertz. Now, in order for us to have the CPU boost all that high, or up that high, let's go into Curve Optimizer and be a little bit more aggressive. So here, we can set maybe -30. That will encourage the CPU to boost as high as possible. Fingers crossed that it also boosts up to 6 gigahertz.
Okay, so let's open up the hardware info and check the clocks. We're idling in at 6 gigahertz. That's quite impressive. Do you think we can run the Cinebench with these settings?
I think it will be on the limit. We can try, but
okay, let's do it. Let's give it a go. Ah, damn. Well, it's not stable at these settings, but hey, what can we do?
That's the life of an overclocker.
Well, at least we reached the 6 gigahertz that we wanted. Thanks a lot, Pieter, for all the knowledge that you shared with us.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you very much for having me. I always like to share the knowledge about overclocking, and I guess the only thing that's left to say is till the next time.
And that's a wrap for this build and overclocking of it. We hope you liked the video, but it seems to me like you're the only person not subscribed to our channel. What's up with that? Click the button.